The future is taking shape in the laboratories of Siemens. Here, the vision of tomorrow's mobility is becoming a reality. The roads of the future, they belong to electric cars. These vehicles will obtain their power from renewable sources. In other words, from wind, water and the sun. What's more, their batteries will one day make our power grids more flexible and more stable. When the cars are not being driven, they will be able to store surplus electricity, for example, from wind power. And when more power is needed, these vehicles will be able to return their energy back into the grid. A fantastic vision of the future? Yes, but also realistic. After all, the journey into the future of mobility is also a journey into the past. Electric cars are not an invention of the 21st century. In fact, they were used in Berlin more than 100 years ago as a normal means of transportation. The electric cars of that time had several advantages over gasoline-powered vehicles. No bothersome cranking to start the car, no irritating smell of gasoline, and the ride was a lot less jerky. Traveling at up to 30 kilometers an hour, the electric cars glided almost silently down the boulevards as hotel taxis, for example, and through side streets as delivery vehicles. Professor Wilfried Feldenkirchen of the University of Erlangen-Nuremberg has carefully researched the history of the automobile during this era. Automotive construction at the end of the 19th century and at the start of the 20th was in its infancy in some ways. You notice that when you look at cars from that time, they're all clearly based on coaches. Back then there was a three-way conflict between steam-powered cars, combustion engine cars and electric cars. The electric cars were silent, they were fast, and in the cities they didn't have to travel any great distances. Siemens Schuckert built a particularly elegant electric vehicle at the beginning of the 20th century, the electric Victoria. With a starting price of 11,000 Deutschmarks, the Victoria was beyond the reach of most people, but that served to make it even more desirable. The car's battery allowed trips of up to 80 kilometers. Cross-country journeys were, however, not recommended, since filling up on electricity was usually only possible in the big city. This was one of the reasons why the gasoline-powered internal combustion engine eventually won the race, or at least the first lap. The continual decline of oil prices was another reason. Electric car production peaked in 1912. After that, production throughout the world declined. In 1901, almost half the cars on the streets of New York ran on electricity, but by mid-century they had practically disappeared. Yet now, at the beginning of the 21st century, the electric vehicle appears ready to take center stage. With the emergence of hybrid vehicles in recent years, electric cars have begun to reappear on the streets of New York and Berlin. But it's not nostalgia that's making e-mobility a promising future technology, it's necessity. Oil is becoming more scarce and more expensive. In addition, fossil fuels contribute to global warming. Therefore, we must switch to green energy sources, the sooner the better. But driving a modern electric vehicle does not mean driving with less fun or excitement. So it's no surprise that former Formula One driver Heinz-Harald Frentzen was thrilled when he took an electric car for a spin on the Salzburg-Ring racetrack. Well, as you can hear, you can't hear a thing. There's probably nothing more unusual than a Porsche without an engine sound. And that's what's so unusual about this car. The advantage of the electric motor is that it has a huge amount of torque. That's why you don't really need any gears. That's to say, you're traveling in just one gear from 0 to 250 or 300. The technology behind e-mobility has come a long way during the past 100 years. Today's batteries can store more energy and be recharged more quickly. Drive systems have also become more efficient. In pilot projects such as the Edison project on the Danish island of Bornholm, engineers are working to make the vision of e-mobility a reality for everyone. One thing is clear. We were able to build electric cars 100 years ago, and we can build them today. The real challenge to making e-mobility viable is to build efficient, flexible and intelligent infrastructure. This includes technologies for refilling electric vehicles quickly and power grids that permit recharging in parking garages and at home, also in rural areas. Siemens has the capabilities to bring this infrastructure to life. Everything from power generation with renewable energy sources to technologies like the smart grid to drivetrains for electric vehicles. In fact, Siemens is the only company in the world that covers the entire e-mobility process chain. However, the key to transforming this vision into reality is cooperation. That's why the automotive and green tech industries have to work together. By providing innovative technologies, Siemens is helping to build the necessary bridges. For the researchers in Siemens labs, the question is no longer whether most of us will switch over to electric cars, but when. The future has begun.